Howdy folks, it's the first week of March 2026 and welcome to This Week in the West. I'm Seth Spillman, broadcasting from the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum in Oklahoma City. On this podcast, we share stories of the people and events that shape the history, art, and culture of the American West, and those still shaping it today. Listeners to a podcast about the American West have most likely heard of the famous trail that bears Jesse Chisholm's name. But what's left to learn about the man himself shows how he carved out a place in Western history not by claiming territory, but by talking his way through it. We remember Chisholm, a member of our Hall of Great Westerners, this week on the anniversary of his death, March 4th, 1868. Chisholm never intended to become famous or infamous. He wasn't a politician, a general, or an outlaw. He was a trader, an interpreter, and a guide. Someone who knew how to listen, how to travel, and how to move between cultures at a time when the American frontier was a patchwork of tribal nations, pioneer settlements, army outposts, and unforgiving landscapes. Chisholm was born around 1805 in the Hiawassee region of present-day Tennessee. His father, Ignatius Chisholm, was of Scottish descent. His mother was Cherokee, often identified in some accounts as Martha Patsy Rogers, though her identity has been debated by historians. Because his mother was considered a member of the Cherokee Nation, so was Chisholm. He learned Cherokee customs and worldview from an early age. As a boy, Chisholm's family relocated west into Arkansas as part of an early so-called voluntary Cherokee removal. Tensions with neighboring tribes were constant, and violence was never far away. Chisholm grew up learning how to survive on the edge of expanding American settlement. One skill that set him apart was his remarkable ability to learn languages. That talent became the keystone of how he would stake his place in Western history. By adulthood, Chisholm could communicate in multiple native languages, as well as Spanish and plain sign language. His ability to communicate made him invaluable to those seeking to navigate and survive the Southern Plains. In the 1820s and 30s, Chisholm worked as a scout and guide for U.S. Army expeditions across what is now Oklahoma and Kansas. He traveled with gold-seeking parties, government surveyors, and diplomatic missions, gaining an intimate understanding of the region's rivers, grasslands, and tribal territories. By the 1830s, Chisholm had become a trader, hauling goods between Kansas, Arkansas, Texas, and Indian Territory. He established trading posts along the Canadian River and near Council Grove, west of present-day Oklahoma City. These outposts became places where goods, news, and diplomacy were exchanged, and where peace was often maintained. Chisholm earned a reputation as a fair dealer. When disputes arose between tribes or between native leaders and government officials, he was frequently called upon to interpret and mediate. Over the years, he worked as an interpreter for the Republic of Texas and later the United States government, including during treaty negotiations involving Comanche, Kiowa, Wichita, and Cherokee leaders. At one point, he traveled to Washington, D.C., interpreting for tribal delegations, meeting with President James K. Polk. According to the book Jesse Chisholm, Ambassador of the Plains by historian Stan Hoig, Polk addressed the visitors with a short speech, assuring them of the friendship and protection of the United States. Chisholm interpreted the president's words into the Comanche language for Chief Santa Anna, who replied that he once believed his nation could defeat any nation in the world. In Texas, Chisholm was personally requested by Sam Houston to assist with delicate negotiations aimed at preventing violence between native peoples and settlers. Then came the Civil War. Indian Territory was devastated by the conflict. Tribes were divided in their loyalties. Trade collapsed. Chisholm led groups of refugees westward, trying to keep people alive in a land stripped of resources and stability. After the war, Chisholm settled near present-day Kingfisher, Oklahoma, and resumed trading. To move his wagons more efficiently, he improved and widened a route he had traveled for years, one that followed natural terrain, reliable water sources, and long-established native paths. Soon that route became economically indispensable. After the war, beef was scarce in the East, while millions of Texas Longhorns roamed the open range. Ranchers were cattle-rich but cash-poor. If they could get their herds to railheads in Kansas, fortunes could be made. Joseph McCoy provided the answer, establishing shipping facilities in Abilene, Kansas. The remaining problem was how to get the cattle there. The solution was already on the map: Jesse Chisholm's route. Cattlemen adopted the path Chisholm had carved across Indian Territory, renaming it the Chisholm Trail. From the late 1860s into the mid-1880s, an estimated 5 to 6 million head of cattle were driven north, with the Chisholm Trail carrying a significant share of that traffic. Abilene, Wichita, and other Kansas settlements were transformed into legendary cow towns, cementing the image of the American cowboy in popular culture. Chisholm never drove cattle himself. He never profited from the cattle boom, and he never lived to see the trail that bore his name explode into legend. He died in 1868 while trading along Salt Creek near the Canadian River in Indian Territory, reportedly from accidental food poisoning after eating bear grease contaminated by a metal pot. He was buried near the campsite. Comanche Chief Ten Bears attended the funeral and, according to historian Stan Hoig, placed a gold peace medal on Chisholm's chest as a final tribute. Today, few physical traces of the Chisholm Trail remain on the landscape. In many places, modern roads follow the same high ground, water access, and natural corridors once used by traders and drovers. In Oklahoma, State Highway 81 roughly traces that historic north-south movement, running through communities that grew up along or near the Chisholm Trail corridor, including El Reno, Chickasha, Duncan, Enid, and points beyond. And with that, we've talked our way through another episode of This Week in the West. Our show is produced by Chase Spivey and written by Mike Kaler. Follow us and rate us on Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. It'll help us reach more people. Come visit us in Oklahoma City. Tickets are available online at thecowboy.org/tickets. Have a question or a suggestion? Drop us an email at podcast@thecowboy.org. We leave you today with the words of Jesse Chisholm himself, recorded shortly before his death, as cited by historian Stan Hoig. "I know little about the Bible and churches, but the good God who sent me here gave me the knowledge of right and wrong. I've never wronged anyone in my life. I've been a peacemaker among my brethren. No man ever went from my camp hungry or naked, and I'm ready and willing to go to the home of the Great Spirit just as I am, whenever he calls for me." Much obliged for listening, and remember, come find your West here at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum.